All right, so are you ready to dive into some seriously inspiring stuff today?
I am.
We're going to be talking about new beginnings, a hopeful future.
Okay.
And to do that, we're going to be looking at some pretty powerful excerpts from the Bible,
I-
Isaiah 43.19
Okay.
and Jeremiah 29.11.
Yeah.
And then just to kind of mix things up a bit, we'll be looking at a Hungarian translation
Oh, wow.
of that Isaiah passage.
Interesting.
What's so fascinating to me is how these verses, even though they were written so long ago,
Right.
still, they really speak to us today.
They do.
They tap into something that we all want,
Yeah. Yeah.
this longing for hope,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we're facing challenges.
Absolutely. I think that's
Yeah.
a really important part of it.
Okay, so let's jump into Isaiah 43.19.
Okay.
It starts with this really vivid imagery talking about making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland.
Right.
It's almost like you can see it, right? It's like a movie.
I know. It's very visual.
But why those specific metaphors? What do you think they're trying to get the listener to feel?
Well, I think it's not just about painting a pretty picture.
Right.
You know, the wilderness in the Bible represents this place of testing, of feeling lost and alone.
Mhm.
You know, it's that feeling of being totally stuck with no way forward.
Yeah.
And then suddenly streams appear in this barren wasteland.
Yeah.
And it's this powerful symbol of God providing, even when you don't expect it,
Wow.
of life bursting forth where you least expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like saying even when things seem hopeless, there's still a chance for something amazing to happen.
Yeah, totally. And it's more than just a chance.
Okay.
I mean, the verse goes on to ask,
Right.
do you not perceive it? It's like this challenge almost.
I was going to say, I've always thought that part was a little bit harsh.
Yeah.
It's like, is God scolding us?
Yeah, it can seem that way.
Yeah.
I think it's more about like waking us up,
Okay.
you know, urging us to really pay attention, to be on the lookout for the new things that God is doing.
Yeah.
It's about changing our perspective,
Yeah.
opening our eyes to possibilities that we might be missing.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of perspective, the website mentions a lot of cross-references to this verse.
Okay.
There's Isaiah 41.22, Jeremiah 16.14-15, even some stuff in the New Testament,
Wow.
like 2 Corinthians 5.17
Okay.
and Revelation 21.5.
Wow. So
It seems like this idea of new things is all over the Bible, right?
it really is, yeah. It's a recurring theme. I mean, it's not just an isolated idea. It's
Mhm.
pointing to this bigger story of redemption and renewal.
Okay.
It suggests that God is constantly at work,
Mm-hmm.
bringing transformation and creating something new out of what's old.
So that kind of like a giant renovation project.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
And we get to see it all happen.
We get front row seats.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It is pretty cool.
It makes me think about all those times in my life when I felt really stuck. Like I was wandering in a wilderness,
I know that feeling.
and then out of nowhere, something changed.
Yeah,
Some new opportunity came up.
Right.
Or I found strength that I didn't know I had.
yeah.
Maybe those were the new things.
It's definitely possible. And that's the beauty of these verses.
Right.
They invite us to connect them to our own lives.
Okay.
You know, to see how God might be working even when we don't realize it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So we've got this idea that God is doing a new thing,
Mm-hmm.
this call to see it even when it's totally unexpected.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to really dig into the original Hebrew
Okay.
or look at different English translations,
Right.
the website actually has links to tons of resources,
Really?
even info about the NIV Bible.
Oh, cool.
But for now, let's switch gears and look at a verse that's like super famous.
Okay.
Jeremiah 29.11.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "For I know the plans I have for you." You see that everywhere, right?
It's on everything. Coffee mugs.
Yeah.
Graduation cards, you name it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about this verse that people connect with so much?
I think it speaks to our need to feel secure and like our lives have a purpose,
Mhm.
especially in a world that feels really chaotic and uncertain a lot of the time.
Totally.
It's like this warm blanket on a cold night,
Yeah.
reminding us that we're not alone, that
Yeah.
there's this bigger plan,
Okay.
and that plan is for our good.
And it's not just some vague good feeling.
No, it's very specific.
Yeah.
The verse goes on to say, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future.
Wow. It's so reassuring, especially when things are rough.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be.
Yeah.
It's a promise that even when we go through tough times, even
Wow.
when we can't see a way forward,
Yeah.
God is still there,
Mm-hmm.
guiding us,
Okay.
working behind the scenes,
Yeah.
leading us to something good.
It's interesting how it progresses.
Oh, yeah.
It starts with prosperity,
Right.
but then it emphasizes no harm.
Yes.
And then it ends with hope and a future.
It's beautiful.
So it's not just about like money or material things.
No, it's not.
It's about like overall well-being.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got these plans that are for our good.
Yeah.
This promise of hope and a future.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that connects back to the new thing we were talking about in Isaiah?
Yeah.
Like, are they totally separate ideas, or is there like a relationship there?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely connected like two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
Maybe the new thing is how God makes those plans happen.
Okay.
The unexpected path that leads us to that good stuff.
To the prosperity and hope.
The prosperity, the hope, the future, yeah.
Wow. So it's about trusting that God's going to guide us even when we don't get it.
Right, even when we can't see the whole picture.
Yeah.
Knowing that he can do something totally new and different to make his good plans happen.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
So just like with that Isaiah passage, the website has tons of resources for Jeremiah 29.112.
Oh, wow.
You can find different translations, commentaries, even stuff about the historical context.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they're basically saying, hey, don't just take our word for it. Go check it out for yourself.
I like that.
But for now, we're going to shift gears a bit and look at something you don't see every day.
Okay.
A Hungarian translation
Oh, wow.
of Isaiah 43.19.
That's really interesting.
Now, different languages have different
I
nuances.
do. Yeah.
And exploring those nuances can give us a fresh perspective on these verses.
Yeah, for sure.
So this particular translation comes from the Hungarian Bible Society's 1990 edition,
Okay.
which I hear was a pretty big deal.
It was. Remember, Hungary was under communist rule until 1989.
Oh, right.
Which meant that people couldn't really express their faith.
Yeah.
So this new translation came out just a year later.
Wow.
And it was like a reclaiming of faith.
Yeah.
A breath of fresh air for Hungarian Christians who had gone through decades of oppression.
So it's not just a translation.
It's so much more than that.
It's a symbol of hope and resilience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this website is clearly all about making the Bible accessible to Hungarian speakers.
It seems like it.
Yeah, they have all these different translations and resources.
That's really great.
It's pretty impressive.
It is.
It highlights the fact that these ancient texts are still relevant and powerful today,
Yeah.
no matter what language you speak or where you come from.
I think that's really beautiful.
Okay, so we've got these inspiring words from Isaiah and Jeremiah talking about new beginnings, hope, and a future that's guided by God's plans.
It's pretty amazing.
And we've even gotten a little glimpse into Hungarian biblical scholarship.
I know, it's fascinating.
But before we go on, I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What's standing out to you so far from these passages?
Well,
What's resonating with you?
I think what really gets me is how these verses speak to something so deep inside us, that longing for something better.
Yeah.
You know, for a future filled with hope.
Right. But it's easy to get caught up in all the beautiful language and miss the main point.
Yeah.
It's not just about nice sounding words.
Yeah.
It's about changing how we see things. It's about understanding that even when we feel stuck,
Yeah.
God is still working.
And I think it's important to remember that both Isaiah and Jeremiah make it clear that it's God who's doing the creating, the planning, the transforming.
Right. It's not just some random thing happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a purpose behind it.
So that should make us feel more secure.
It should, yeah.
Yep.
Like we're not just wandering around aimlessly.
We have a guide.
We do like a divine architect
Yeah.
who's shaping our lives
Right.
according to a plan that's way bigger than we can even imagine.
It's like we have a cosmic GPS
Oh, I love that.
guiding us to where we're supposed to be,
Yeah.
even if the route seems a little weird sometimes.
Even if it doesn't make sense to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
It's all about faith.
Yeah. It is.
Surrendering to that guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Trusting that even when we can't see the whole map, God knows where he's going.
Trusting the process.
Okay, but let's be real.
Okay.
Life isn't always easy.
No, it's not.
What about those times when things are super tough?
Right.
When those new things seem more like a mirage than an oasis?
Yeah.
What do these verses have to say to someone who's really struggling?
Yeah.
Someone who's maybe even wondering if there is a plan at all?
That's when it really matters.
Yeah.
That's when our faith is tested, when the promises feel far away.
Right.
But that's exactly when we need to hold on to verses like Jeremiah 29.11.
Okay.
It says, plans to prosper you and not to harm you.
Right.
It's reminding us that God wants what's best for us.
Even when we're going through hard times.
Even when things are difficult. Yeah.
So it's not about never having any problems.
No.
It's about knowing that even in the middle of those problems,
Right.
God cares about us.
He does.
And wants us to thrive.
Absolutely.
Okay, so those new things